And Bill's here, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Looking good, Bill. There he is. Okay, call the meeting to order. Approval of the January minutes.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. We can go through these. No visitor comments? Nope. All right, old business, rooftop lighting.
The quotes from two electricians for Red Lemore and I can never remember the name of your
Dave's
business.
Dave's building.
Dave's business building. Yeah, that's right. So, we will have both by the end of today, so they are both done. So we just need to have the
Okay.
number sent in. So,
I got you.
from there, I'll send them out. We can wait till March, or we can send them out by email and just have you approve them, however you're wishing to do. We've got plenty of money set aside for lighting. So
Okay, I just want to, I just would like to know if it's going to be triple what Strive was or something like that, of course.
right, yes,
You know, that would be
Yeah,
the
right.
thing that I would want to know. Yeah, so. So how do we all feel about, I mean, we can send emails out, but as long as it's,
I think that makes sense.
yeah, just, yeah,
Okay.
get it,
Okay.
keep moving
Good.
forward, and it's
Got it.
about to be springtime. It's springtime today.
Yeah.
So we'll just send out some emails, and as long as it's not ridiculous.
Sure.
So, okay. Decorative parking sign update.
Speak.
I don't know who it is.
I got the impression, the distinct impression after the last meeting, this one wasn't me.
No one says anything, it's you.
Well, then I don't have an update for you. This one wasn't on my list of the news,
Are
so.
we working on some artwork or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was me.
Okay,
And I didn't do anything.
it's okay. All right,
Gretchen said they do not have that file for sure.
okay. All right.
So they know your file is old, but we're not sure if we can access it.
I'm not sure if I'll. But
But do we need to, if Tim's gonna
I
do
think we
it?
just create a new.
I think either use it as a template to create new artwork from the
Well, do we have
existing
to
design.
create new artwork or can we just pretty much copy that artwork?
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
Right.
talking about just
Yeah.
the best we can by looking at it and boom, done.
perfect.
Right.
The Webster tree. Cause that's actually like part of a logo, right? The Webster logo.
It is, yeah.
So we will just use that, I assume,
Where would I get that?
probably City Hall somewhere.
I don't think City Hall did this.
No, not the parking signs, the tree logo for Webster Grove.
So Webster,
So the tree logo is not an official logo of Webster Groves at all. It's not, the city never adopted that logo.
Oh.
So you see it?
Like on mugs.
The official Webster
That's the
Groves logo
Webster
is
stuff.
just Webster Groves with a little swirly junk
You know what I'm
underneath.
talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's something that.
I think it was
I don't know who-
Webster, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I've never seen any file for it on any of our networks or
It
drives.
was our logo in Old Webster.
Yeah, I think it was
20
Old
years
Webster.
ago.
Oh, okay. I have seen it on things right here. Oh, got it, okay.
I think we want to use the tree again. We can find a picture of a tree on the
Yeah, I
internet
think
pretty
so.
easily.
Yeah.
Just paste it.
I just didn't know if there was like a,
Official.
yeah,
I think to also just have it, the intent would be similar to what's there, but it doesn't have to be exact. Right, you look at what the style that it is now and come up with new graphics that mimic that.
Didn't we say there were two different size signs?
For one,
No.
It's all one.
Our parking signs are the same size.
Okay.
Some are damaged from missing. Right?
so somebody needs to go around and do a count.
We've got the count.
Oh,
So
good.
we've got the count. I think 34 that are still up off the top of my head. So we've got the number. It's written down. So
And how many need to be replaced also?
that's the number that's up. So because that's a question of which poles, some of the poles that aren't really up anymore, I think we've moved enough around, aren't in major parking areas and such. So we've made do with what is.
And so 34 is sufficient, and we can just.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
So I'll get the number out to you all.
Parks Department Services Inventory.
So this relates to the budget conversation, and so I'm gonna share, give you all a insight into the background of the city here. So you know what, let me stop the share. Sorry, Bill, I'm gonna share this so you can see it as well. This is the budget software that we have. I know that's really small rows down on the bottom, so let me get this all. So this is about the business district budget, okay, the piece that is then split across the three districts. First of all, as we mentioned, Crossroads is encountering this budget cycle, the end of their savings, the fund balance, the issue we talked about. So they are starting to look at an à la carte menu, meaning not taking the entire part, all the services like you get from talking about ending winter maintenance, potentially cutting back on summer flowers and such like that. So as not to pay into the business district budget. So what I'm going to walk through here is the business district budget as written before those decisions are made. Okay, all right. So the only thing that's not in here, right, this line, salaries, you're going to look at this column to the right that says 2024 department. That's this coming year's budget. The only thing that is not in yet from the Parks Department is the salary, which certainly will be 41,497 plus whatever percentage of cost of living the city is giving to the employees, right? So whether 2%, 3%, 4%, 0%, 1%, all to be decided. We generally will put in 2% as the base point to start the budget conversation with the city council on do we go up, do we go down and such, okay? So essentially plan for probably a 2% over the 2023 number. And then the same amount of part-time at this point, part-time help into the business district hours has been entered by the Parks Department budget. Workers' comp will be entered. It's about $3,000. The system automatically puts a percentage in, so we know we've got to add some money in. Overtime will stay the same. Our budget there we don't increase the overtime budgets often. FICA will obviously be about 5,000, 5,700 for medical insurance portion for that staff. In terms of the stuff, these are the two lines. So personnel equipment, every park staff gets a boot program. So the park staff that's dedicated to the business district would be part of the boot program. So that's built in the transfer as we discussed last time. And then here is the estimation from the Parks Department. You can see 24,900 is the commodity. So that is what the products they're buying, soils, plants, things like that to fill baskets and pots. That total budget, which is not added up at the moment, but it's going to be just a shade over 108, probably about 112. Is the estimate, would be what was then split if we just split them the way we always have done. Now with Crossroads talking about using an a la carte menu, that obviously changes the pressure, meaning the costs on what the other two districts have. And we would start to back out hours then. We would take out hours that the districts are buying because of course Crossroads isn't buying hours anymore. So we wouldn't need to budget over that full-time salary to be involved in the business districts. In fact, we might even get down to just that overtime salary. So
So Eric, with them, like if Crossroads pulls out,
Yeah.
do we then get more hours of service, or our level of involvement stays the same, but then the total cost goes down?
more than likely the total cost would go down. So unless you want more services from the Parks Department, we would pull back hours, right? And then really come down to what's the appropriate number of hours. We'll use that rather than people, right? Because that's the way we calculate it. The appropriate number of hours to take care of Old Orchard and Old Webster's needs, assuming still the full summer package, flowers, all that kind of stuff, and winter maintenance. And then spread that across redo the formula for splitting between you both.
So Crossroads isn't doing anything.
They haven't decided yet.
Oh, okay.
So, and just to give you a heads up, so I know we always talk about budget in February, we certainly should. The departments are submitting this week as final call. Budgets have to be in and such from departments. The manager, Marie, does not send the budget until April. So we have March, and that's the beauty of having the business districts. We'll be able to see where the manager is setting the base budget. So we'll be able to come back in March and make the final determinations when you know from Crossroads, from all three districts, if they're planning any changes on this transfer thing, what are the other two districts?
Well, essentially what you're saying though is it doesn't matter what Crossroads does to us, right? I mean,
It doesn't matter other than the formula changes, right? And so if you want the full service package, you're still probably about the same amount of money that you have been taking out. I'm just giving you a sense of, we'll be pulling back on potentially that for Crossroads. And I wanted to explain that, considering that you'll see the number go down drastically overall for business districts.
Got it. Okay, all right. There, the Parks Department budget. Okay.
And there is a specific program called Parks Business District. So I mean, it stands out in the budget on its own that everyone can see it. And it would go from, let's say they pull it from 112,000 down to 85,000, right? And that number would then be spread across the other two remaining districts.
But our dollar share would be.
Your dollar would
Same.
essentially the same. We'd have to look back at that formula. Now we're, because we start with assessed valuation, which you folks are about double what Old Orchard is, and then 4 times what Crossroads is. But then we look at miles of, winter maintenance and such and how many baskets. And so, I mean, we'd have to go back, sort of all those factors that have gone into that formula split, and really you and Old Orchard will be about the same then, right? I mean, it might be a more equal. You're not that far off in terms of how much you're all paying in right now, so.
One of the things let's just take winter budget, for example. It used to be that we had to shovel our own walks. I mean, but we were responsible for in front of our store. And don't get me wrong, now the city does now when there were heavy snows, like when it was 5 and 6 inches, and it was like, okay, this is not, working with a shovel, we need a blower.
Right.
That's when the city would step in and do that. And that has changed over the years, Joe.
No, the city was, well, at one time we had a private maintenance guy.
I'm sure, yeah, I remember, correct, yeah.
Okay, when and he was doing one path through the business district. So that people could walk. Because people would not shoveling in front of the
Right,
stores.
right.
So it was all the city or Greg was ever supposed to do was one path
Okay,
to not shovel up to the doors, so
okay,
of every business, there was only a path
okay, got it.
for.
Well, that's what the
Can I-
city's doing now is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with, because when I worked in Old Orchard at Daisy Clover years ago, I used to have to shovel.
Yeah, no, Joe and
Can I
I
just
did, but then,
pop in real quick on sidewalks? The districts are the only ones who get, other than for city properties. City doing sidewalks. It is otherwise a property owner's job to maintain, clean, doesn't matter how much snow, right? It's,
Right.
you get a foot, house owner, business may pop, your job to clean sidewalks on Marshall and Summit, and such like that. So the districts have bought that service above what the normal city service is.
But I think what he's saying is this is rather new. This wasn't always like that.
well, it's not rather new, it's been going on for years,
Yeah.
it's been a while, but I just remember,
20 years
I
ago,
definitely
we-
remember we used to have to just say, hey, business owners, you're responsible for shoveling in front of your walk.
We still,
Yeah.
it still needs to be done, but all of like I said, this, all that was ever asked of the city or Greg was to make one path.
Got it, okay.
To
And I
not
actually
shoveling up
think it's
to the
really
door.
helpful to have at least one pass
Well,
through
it-
that. And you gotta go out and shovel the rest of your sidewalk. It's only. enough to get-
Right, yeah. I
You know,
understand.
so there's still a responsibility on the businesses.
But it is an area for people who are walking, that they can continue to walk
If you
without
get
all of a sudden
through.
getting okay,
Yeah.
that was my misunderstanding, and I was kind of clarify that.
And so not all the streets in the districts get that maintenance. So when we look at the area in Old Webster, it goes to, I can't remember, Glencoe, the San Jose corner, but the city doesn't go down into Old North Webster across the tracks, even though they're paying in the district. So hence that distinction on their business license surcharge that some
Okay.
services don't extend. So in reality, we're doing Lockwood, Allen, and that piece of Gore down to Glencoe in your district. Old Orchard is really just down Big Bend and that little piece of East Lockwood, but not, Dale and all the little side streets down to parking and such. Crossroads is down Big Bend. So
Is Schnucks in the crossroad?
it is, yeah. Crossroads, the fundamental structure of Crossroads, a smaller tax base, but on top of that, so service entity oriented.
Right,
That over half the businesses there don't pay business licenses because they're types of services exempted by the state from business licensure. So you folks even sit on the advisory commission, they're paying property taxes, so they're paying it in that regard. But it's just the nature of the businesses that are now there compared to what Crossroads used to be as a more retail destination and such.
Accountants, state licensed business accountants, doctors.
Dentists, orthodontists,
Do not pay.
correct. Right, yeah, even veterinarians, veterinarians lab services pay. but not-
anybody who makes a lot of money.
I don't know, Ron. I looked at a bike the other day just to check how much bikes are gonna, or they picked one in my window. So we mentioned bringing the budget back. That's where it sits right now. So. So when we come back next month, we'll know what Crossroads is, just so you know, and we'll be able to have the sort of more fully formulated recommendation on
And where are your numbers here on our preliminary budget?
They are, so in the preliminary budget.
Sixes, but I don't see any sixes on my preliminary.
Sorry, so there aren't any sixes, so when you look on the old Webster preliminary budget bill, I think this got emailed to you, so. If you look on the first page down to code 999. Perfect. That's the operating transfers out. So in 23, your budget is $42,000, 644 going out. We just estimated for the purposes of this document to get you a base to start from $43,000. So we just used where we have been in the past year, so. So on this document, the preliminary budget, this is a very bare bones look at where things are. Revenue's probably got the most involvement that I've done in terms of a staff look at it. We do expect, because property will be reassessed now in 2024, it should be 23, the odd numbered year this year, so taxes in the first part of this budget. In this budget, we expect about a 3% increase. Historically, that's the amount of tax increase you see when the reassessments go out. That's in line 401, so that'd be 42,446. Yes.
So that's actually
So,
down.
well, so it looks down because you've got this one, for some reason, Old Webster keeps getting a financial institution tax. Okay, that's the bank tax. Other districts have them. We're not sure why. And in fact, the state called us. Do you know why? State asked us, do we know why Old Webster is getting the financial institution tax?
Let's not.
Well, we didn't bring it up. The state called us. So you have gotten it. But it's not a property tax. It's a state-based income tax on banks that ends up flowing by property tax value back into the places where the banks are located.
Maybe it's because we have 15 banks.
That could be. So I'm not saying, so the reason, what I'm saying is why it looks like it's down is in the past, that number is rolled into your property tax number.
Okay.
This is based on your actual valuation, that $42,000. So
Okay.
financial institution tax is not in there yet.
So we'll probably get a bigger number.
You're probably gonna get a bigger number. I just don't, this is the also deal. I don't know. No one knows the formula for financial institution taxes, only the state. We don't ever get to know. We can't say we've got 15 banks, we should expect X amount of dollars.
Isn't
that
this
tax.
the amount of money that always just appears for like, oh.
It doesn't always
every
appear.
year.
It just started appearing a couple of years ago.
Right.
Well, it's gonna appear just like every 5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
It may
And
be
now
like a
it's-
pretty big chunk, and we'd be like, okay,
So the reason why the state called is because when you read the business district statute, the business districts aren't entitled to financial institution taxes. But it gets thrown into the property tax somehow. It's paid that way, even though it's an income-based tax. So I mean, this is, you know,
we can stop talking about this.
well, my point is, I want to explain why it went down. So you know, okay? Business licenses, we do expect obviously over budget in 420 from this past year, a major increase that is more reflective of where we've seen the past, you know, indices be at, right? You're gonna get over 37,000 this year likely. We don't know what you're getting this year because they just went out and, you know, you'll start to really April when they're due. That's when we get the fullest sense of what this budget will have.
But Paul,
Yeah.
why is it so low? I mean, it's
45,000.
37. Oh, I apologize. I just get screwed up because of the years.
Yes,
We're
so-
on 2024 budget.
Exactly, yes.
Got it. Yes,
So we had budgeted 37 because if you look back at 21, that's what we got,
right,
right? 22, all of a sudden, we come back out of COVID, which is really 2021,
right.
and we roared up, right? We
Right.
saw the increase, you know, really come in, so. Interest in, just real quick, the state did, I think we talked about that, exempt home-based businesses, you don't have any, but that we're aware of, but you never know what could be in a residential space in your district, right? You do have some residential property that's in the district, so. Interest income, we do expect a far better interest return the coming year ahead of $2,000, so that matches with the cities. Our interest returns obviously are going up greatly, so we've been new investment strategy that is really paying dividends there, So all your money, that's yours, and the fund balance, the savings, we use that principal to invest, put your money to work. Okay? And then the transfer out again, 43,000, that's the Parks Department, that's the plug number we put in to start. Okay. On page 2, so because I know this question will come up, page 4 has a lot of the. Sure, I got this, yes. So on page 3, let me just pop ahead. About 2/3 of the way down, you're gonna see, it says Department 05, Planning and Development Program 50, Old Webster budget on page 3. You see that? So this budget we're in, the year before that, your department budgets, your budgets were always in planning and development. We moved them all over to administration. So that's where you've got your historicals going back to see in the past years. So after that point on page 3, everything is just old data, okay? I don't, so you're wondering, if you wonder why do we have 2 lines that are the same things, one with 0, that's why. Okay, I just gave them to you so you'd have the historical data. Page 2 is where we actually our budget. So you're in Fund 12, which is your own fund. You are in general government as the department we call it, and then the program is your own 77 Old Webster. The operational equipment line of 730. You've got 17,000 in this budget. That was benches, the extra new baskets, the garland. I zeroed that out just simply as a starting point for you all. Where do you want to add stuff back in to buy?
So. The 17,000 is what we spent.
Well, this budget is, it's what you have budgeted. So, and what
Okay,
you're, I
got it.
mean, we spent the benches,
Right.
we bought the garland. And we also have bought the baskets
Got it,
the
okay.
baskets. So I mean, everything that we have planned in that line for this
Right.
budget, we have expended or income.
The baskets.
We remember we had this conversation at last budget about adding new baskets, the water saving baskets.
No, I'm just trying to think. I thought we.
The
did
water
that.
saving baskets, we decided
decided
to
to do a
pull on
couple of
this
them?
end.
I got it.
here,
Okay,
right?
got it. Okay, all right. That's okay. I do. All right.
Oh, we wrote it down in the budget, so it's there, but we can go back and look.
No, I think you're right. I think that we decided, I remember.
Parks wanted to get rid of the pots and go all
But
baskets.
we didn't want to get rid of the pots
Exactly.
because, but our sidewalks are much wider up here.
Mhm.
And so the baskets made more sense where the narrower sidewalks.
Essentially, baskets will go from here down, and then the other couple baskets down on the other end of Lockwood, so the entry points. Yeah, so. Like Old Orchard baskets, the 2 baskets hanging off, so. Line 803, this is the professional services line. So there are 3 transactions. That's what the little gray section means. Admin support is the monthly service fee for Fran, part of her contract. OWTA, that is the money that we pay then over to the trade association for Fran. We subsidize back to them. And then I put in at the same amount as last year, just an extra 900 that we hold in case there are other admin support items. So that's going around getting businesses for trick or treat or such like that. So if there's an add-on to Fran's bill, that's what would be paying for it.
Is that new?
No, this budget has been 6,000.
I just didn't know, the additional special events,
Well-
that 900, is that new?
It's just the way
It's written out.
it's
Okay.
written out. I don't think.
It's not, I don't think it's ever been expressed and shown to you as a.
Yeah,
there's
okay.
so much-
It's
Yeah.
been $6,000, single line item.
Okay, perfect.
For example, when I did something for Jazz Fest that was
Yeah.
paid for, that didn't come from trade. came
Okay.
from here.
Okay, great.
Where are we at here? So, line 810, this is recycling services. So we have now have that at 218, so that's now $2,600. That's the current Republic cost. That's not Aspen and,
Okay, so that is current,
That's
and
just-
that is what it's up to now.
Correct.
Do you know what it was before?
oh, it was 170 something, so.
A month?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not, okay.
What does that cover? Is that just all the,
It's the one
Cardboard
recycling thing, right behind Dan's building, 23 North Door. There's one blue big recycling bin.
It's just cardboard recycling. You don't recycle cardboard, do you?
so why is it? No, why is it commissioned?
For businesses, we could all just throw it away. It's just to help be greener. You know, it's.
I have my own trash service, so I don't.
Well, yeah, so we have our own trash service too, but
It's kind of an interesting thing, is, my staff 2 years ago were anxious about doing recycling and couldn't find anywhere to do it. So like we have no clue.
But now that you're a member of our board, you will know where to go.
I think it's on the website, though. I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere on the website.
But anyways, so behind, basically,
Right in front of the parking
Euclid
garage.
record.
behind Euclid Records there's a blue dumpster that says, recycling for Old Webster businesses only. And it's just right there.
Each of the business districts has one. There is a conversation that sustainability is starting in terms of green dining, which is a BDC sustainability initiative to talk to the restaurants. Part of that will also be compost, right? You know, moving the restaurants into composting. And so there's a conversation about do we need to have more centralized and further locations? This isn't necessarily for you all to make, but give you a heads up. For composting, potential recycling, and then who picks them up? Are they a company or is something in the city?
On a side note, is it something that could have come out of that budget from when the city got all the money?
Yes, and that's the conversation that's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't really need to stress over that.
No, but the point being is if you don't want to have the dumpster, I mean, we can take it out. It's really conversation for the district, so.
How do we find out how far out we are from making, are you guys from making that decision?
I think that we would be, it would take most of this coming budget year before we got into a much more robust, if we're gonna have more places for drop off and, you know, recycling potentials in the district. So, I mean,
When I was a kid, I remember I guess it's on Pacific, right behind the railroad tracks, there was a recycling depot.
Center. Yeah,
Recycling center,
yeah.
I mean, it was residents and all that, but
Now,
Kirkwood still has one.
they have one,
Which
which I think,
single stream recycling.
That's true.
I'd like to point out that I think in the Wall Street Journal, only about 20% of what you're actually recycling is actually getting recycled,
it still goes to the dumps.
which is disappointing is what I'm trying to say, but we're spending all this time recycling and then it's going into these big buckets and then it's going out and then we don't even know if it's actually going to where it's supposed to be going.
It's cardboard only though, and most of the cardboard is.
They do say that cardboard is pretty much recycled. That bin is full, so, but if you want to add to the budget, make it, you know, add another expense, we could look at another location.
Well, that's why I was asking Bill, the city got all that money and they're actually talking about already doing that. Outside, I mean, beyond taxing.
I mean, I would love to have a recycling center. It's just really disappointing that we're doing a pretty good job of it, especially at our household. And it's going into these trucks and then we don't even know. And then when you find out that really it's probably half of it or even 20% of it's actually getting recycled. So,
it is a sad thing, but you can't just throw your arms up and say, forget it.
no, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying we could spend all this time and money putting together a center. And then really the problem is we should be talking to our politicians about making sure that what we currently are doing is getting recycled.
Don't we have a board in Webster that does that already? Like a,
Yeah, the sustainability.
yeah.
so the Sustainability Commission makes recommendations to council. They don't oversee the contract by any means. I mean, it's built in the contract. The only recycling service that we, you know, take up obviously is waste management recycling at the consumer level, the residential household level. We use Republic for these 3 dumpsters. The city conversation has been, there's some grants that the county is likely going to be giving us to put recycling bins next to your trash bins in the districts, right? So actual recycling. Again, is waste management going to pick them up on time? All those other functional questions that go in with that. With this green dining on composting, what does that involve? Do we get a cardboard baler for the city and start baling cardboard and have a more centralized cardboard location and, you know, try to move into that? Do we create a massive composting area as well? So, I mean, that's been the extent of conversation, but obviously I don't think anyone has delved into how do we change the recycling industry to actually recycle the stuff that we send in for recycling.
So what Karen said is, I think where we should be focusing is on cardboard. I'm pretty sure they are recycling that. So we should be focusing in, I think, as a city. So if we had more locations to put cardboard, that would be a great thing.
Locations or a centralized location.
Or centralized, yes, we could take it down to the service center.
Right.
But have we had a meeting, a sit down with Waste Management?
On their issues.
Well, I know when the contract comes up, they come in front of the city council. It's always contentious, but we should actually ask the people that run the St. Louis program to sit down or actually invite them to our meeting.
So the city has met with them, the city's met with them many times. I mean, they give us the same answer that everyone's given. They don't have enough drivers to hit all the trucks, so they just make it essentially a priority they skip a route, you know. They essentially, we don't have enough drivers, we skip the route and, you know, the trash sits there for another week, so.
Where it usually gets their attention is when you come up for contract renewal and then you start.
Which is 2 years out. They got 2 more years on their current contract, so. So I mean, we can start that process again. I don't know that the councils, we can ask, sir. Yeah.
But if we had a person or somebody on our board has a person that we could call or a hotline, not a hotline, but an actual person that's in charge of the program, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So yes, we're just saying, well, they don't have enough drivers, but they might not even, if on a weekly basis, we're calling them, I'm happy to be that person. You know, just texting them or emailing them or calling them and saying, by the way, again, we're having a problem. At some point, they're going to get sick of being called, or they're getting the call and they're try to, you know, take care of what the problem is.
I can tell you that Public Works and the Parks Department are calling them. Public Works is calling them daily, and Parks is probably calling them 3 times a week because of their not getting picked up and residents calling for them. That's
I call every week. Cause
You
they
get missed?
never
We get
pick
missed
up
a
my
lot.
house.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Bill, I appreciate the conversation. I mean, we call them, there's at least 3 to 4 calls from city a week to Waste Management. The point is they're so big and we just don't have enough scale as one customer, even though we're important enough. They don't give a shit. To be quite honest with you.
No, no, that's of course not. No, and it's the same thing when I had to get rid of Meridian recently. I mean,
Yeah.
I called them 1,000 times, you know, and they don't, you were on, it was 45 minutes to try to get your trash picked up, and I don't have the time. They just beat you down.
Just Republic, I mean, your bill that you're paying here, we keep getting an overage charge every month, which I don't know if that means, they say, well, that means you're overloaded, which I'm like,
It's cardboard.
well, you're not overloaded, right, by any weight. So I don't know if it's a box got tipped out or whatever, but it's $60-75 a month that they want to charge overage that we spend, I would say between 2 or 3 hours between myself and Greg Donovan, my finance number 2, arguing with him, well, just to get that taken off, that we can't be over because we're not over on weight. This is all cardboard.
So I don't know if this is the reason for these overages, but we did have a recycled dumpster at my building. And it was always filled, you know, and whatnot, but we would always the building property management would get overcharges. Because non-recyclable things would get thrown in the dumpster every week. And then
So they just took it away from us.
yeah, we just lost it.
Old reliable life. lost
Sure,
their
yeah.
recycling.
So I mean, there may be non-recyclables in there as well, but the point being is we spend 2 to 3 hours just doing it every time we get this bill.
Because we're on this subject really fast, Ron did come up with a really good solution, and maybe the city could follow suit, but he takes his bike boxes and fills them. And waits them up, and then recycle it. Like maybe Webster can do something like that and offer like a box like that to the businesses.
Or.
And then it's already broken down.
free.
Or Ron does that.
Anybody need a bike box? Let me know.
Kids playhouses.
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of.
But
you can build a
like
boat with it.
skinnier ones that like you can like. File your boxes in, and then maybe that's what
Vermont's a
it
good
is.
citizen. Not everybody's. a good
So it
citizen.
takes somebody to actually do it.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe if. There's flat boxes available, then that's, I don't know, we're not on this sustainability.
So on Republic,
Yes.
one last thing.
Other people can talk.
Are they jacking up your rates all the time too? Not to.
The Republic has 3 things, and that's the 3 business district. That's the only thing Republic does.
All the Republic does is recycling and
The
3
three-
businesses.
the 3 business
And they
districts.
just- Everybody.
Everybody else is waste management.
And when is their contract up?
We operate with them yearly. I mean, it's really just,
It's all we have to do is get a hold of Aspen.
that's right. So we've reached out to Aspen and asked for a quote, so I don't have it yet.
Got it,
So
okay.
This budget is built on just, here's what your Republic number is.
Okay, got
There
it.
you go.
Perfect. Okay, great. That's awesome.
814 is land rental, so so you have two items that you have paid for. One in history, the congregational lot, the lot behind Ron that we talked about, the one that is up for renegotiation. You pay 80% of that lot, 20% is paid by the city. So that's $1,029 a month. That's the current rate, okay? I added line 3 in 814, the renegotiation reserve. So I added $1,000 in just to have, as we go into renegotiation, if we're going to continue a lease, okay? The middle line, the Moody lot, 50% is the 50% for FY 24 of the cost of the Moody lot. So remember, it's 4,000 is your cost, 50% plus 2% every year. So hence the $80. So it's got an escalator built in. 823, the electricity for streetlights, that's the power bill for streetlights. Okay,
Is that
paid by all the
correct?
districts.
I know, but is it correct though? Like ours always seems to be really low. Like the last page that you gave us last week or last month, excuse me. Was like we were way below on that because they're LEDs. Am I wrong on that?
So in the history you have paid, if you look back on page 4, 823, you paid 1,100, 1,100, 1,100, 1,100, and through 22, in 23, anticipating the power bills going up a little bit, right? So we've kept that number up. We can pull that number down a little bit if you
No,
want.
no, that's fine. I'm just asking. It's all right. That's no problem.
In 23, or am I not here in 23? Get to the right spot. We do anticipate that you will be at about 1,400, looking at how the bills are coming
And
out.
it's coming out
Yeah.
now. And so,
Yeah.
of course, it'll be keep going up. So, okay, perfect.
Advertising is your biggest line item that is built in here, 830. So general advertising is just we always put this little segment of money in for things that come up to do general advertising. This is not the package from WKT. Okay, that's separately laid out from the Webster Kirkwood Times. Okay, so that's what the 700 is. The holiday advertising, 4,500. That's the piece that goes into the larger next page, top of page 3.
Yeah, I'm here. I just need to-
Okay, so that is the holiday advertising in with the rest of the city's budget and then the other districts that pay in on that. Jazz and Blues Fest, I put in at 3,500, which is not the final amount you ended up at last year, just the regular, I won't say the regular, but the first amount you put in last year's budget. Okay, so. And I want to be very quick on the sponsorships. We are looking at adding another code that is sponsorships, because right now we're mixing sponsorships in with advertising, right? And you know, we like to split those apart so that the distinction is clearer, right?
Right, got it.
Okay. Paint Webster sponsorship, I put in for $200 again, the street dance at 3,800. Oktoberfest at 5,000. Which is where, not the original amount, that was the final amount we ended up at in, so I just used it as a number. For Oktoberfest, and then the WKT advertising package, so they sent you another request, the city of request that you sponsor the same things you always have done for the same amount of money, $3,300. So we put that in the budget.
Then on general advertising. We have on page 2, $30,000. It's just sitting there.
That's the whole amount of all those things I just walked through.
Perfect, got it. Although that,
Yeah.
although that adds up, although that you just walked through was 21,000.
Correct, yes, 30,000 was what was in this past what we're gonna use, because remember, we gave some more to Jazz Fest.
Right, right.
Things like that, so that the budget was a little higher than base, you know what I'm saying,
Okay.
so. And I haven't heard from Patrick or Dan that they're gonna want more yet, they may, so.
Okay.
Joe, I don't look at Joe for Jazz Fest stuff anymore, so. So Patrick Murphy is the, I don't know, chair, is that the right word? Of the- Is a Joe, yeah, he's the Joe, so.
I'd say he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still work in progress, I'm sure. Final organization.
Right. You ready for me to move on?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so 851 is your contract area maintenance. I put in for this coming budget, $15,000 for facade lighting, okay? So I picked a number,
Random number.
random number, doesn't have to be. We can come back every time we can take that out of the budget and also, as you get quotes, have the budget amended, you know, to do that. It doesn't have to be in the budget.
Do you know what we spent last year?
Last 20 few seconds here. we spent. It was a 50%, we were at about. It's in the 906, $1,700. That was our cost on putting up the olive and oak.
And that's all we really got.
That's all we got.
Okay.
So,
all right, that's-
so 15,000 is a lot of money. So
right.
I mean, I just used, that was the stride PO that was held for Old Orchard when they had, decided to do a bunch. So that's the number I grabbed and used. Again, it doesn't have to be that number. You can cut it way back. You can take it out and we just come back and amend the budget every time we want to do a project. So,
Do we have a lot of properties we still need to get lighting on?
well, yes, I think there's a lot to be lit, right? It's always the question of, do they want to light? Yes, and then they pay 50%. So I mean, you've got owner decision there. Old Orchard's taking the whole cost. So we seem to have more people lined up,
On Old Orchard, because
Right.
they pay everything.
they pay everything, yeah.
Right.
Other than once it's up, now it's your job to pay for power, so. So there is not, in 901, you will see, excuse me, I take that back. The olive and oak last year include that 2,300, that cost was split, so it's actually olive and oak was closer to $4,000 for the old Webster district. Is what we anticipated seeing. To do the building, to light the building.
So it's 4,000, but all of no paid half? What do you?
Yeah, so it was about $8,000 by the time all that got
Okay.
put in. So they paid half, yes. I mean,
Right,
it was half the bill. I'm saying
Right,
it was about $4,000 we put into facade lighting
okay,
in those projects. Where I was going at is 901. The next line, the last line item in what would be this coming budget is zeroed because again, we are moving all your costs out of those capital because it's not the city's capital.
right.
So it's moved out of the 900s. So
Okay.
your budget really ends if you were to just adopt this at 851. So the 900s aren't being used. And again, the rest of that, down the rest of the page is just simply the historicals for when it was in planning and health.
Okay.
Sergeant Flannery, I hope I didn't put you to sleep because it's, So again, the
Most
biggest,
exciting meeting of the year.
right? Yeah, the biggest thing that's not in here that you have seen in past budgets, again, is those, I don't call them one-offs, but any schedule of replacements and certain things you want to do. If you want more trash cans that match the metal looking ones that we have gone to, right? And replacement, if you want more benches, that's not built in here. Doesn't have to be built in. We can come back and amend the budget if you want to look at that, halfway through the year, we can do that, so.
What is the, that, how much money does the district have right now sitting in CDs or whatever?
The fund balance,
Come back.
you're at about $102,000, I believe, so. And so that is important, and thank you, I didn't go to the bottom line, so if you go all the way down to page 4, the bottom line there. We expect $46,000 of revenue, which also includes that 43,000 taken out, right? So in reality, you took in 70, bottom of page 4, all the way to the bottom,
All the way in the bottom.
bottom lines,
Okay.
black and reds here, right? 46, page 4.
On page 4.
Last two line items.
46,000.
Back on, it.
Three
Yeah,
lines
got
on
it, thank you.
Well, I was looking for red.
Yeah, sorry, I'm good.
So,
Yeah.
so $46,000 of revenue, now that includes already the revenue gone out then again to parks. This budget as built has $63,000 worth of expenses, which is a negative $17,000 budget. So if you spent the whole budget and revenue came in exactly as I said, you would then be taking $17,000 out of the savings.
Out of our $102,000.
Right, and now that number in 102, remember, continually changes as we get through the end of this year, right? And what your plans are.
Right.
If you don't spend this whole budget, that number is gonna go up a little bit that you're currently,
Right.
so.
But we're over budgeted, way over budgeted on the contract area maintenance. I mean, if we're only
Sure.
spending $1,700 a year and we have a $15,000 budget, we're lucky to get 2 buildings a year done. I mean, I'm okay with it as long as we all understand that we're about $12,000 over budget on that, which, so if you look at it as like we're gonna have a negative balance. We're not, because we're gonna be okay with that 12,000.
So, yeah, and that number on contract area maintenance, any of these numbers, you're welcome to say, let's change it, let's do something different. So that's the point of this meeting.
Why don't we change the Jazz Fest to 5,000 instead of 3,500?
On the wrong direction.
That's,
Yeah.
Right,
I'll second that.
What are we
Maybe
gonna
can
take
pull
out?
From street dance, we might be canceling street dance.
Really?
Who's gonna run it? There's no chair that's stuck up.
Who's gonna do tickets to the Beatles? I mean,
Patrick.
Who's Patrick?
Murphy.
He's not on the trade association.
Be willing to do Jazz Fest. I'm kidding.
Does he have a business at Webster? He's more than welcome to do it. We can create a business for him.
And the street dance is this June, right?
Yeah.
So this is really next June. I mean, your current budget is taking care of this.
If we end up canceling it this year, it's not like it's gonna get
Right,
Yeah.
right. So if you wanted to keep it in and hope that it continues on and such, I mean, you certainly can. You can take it out and come back and amend the budget and give them money if it's, back in and if it happens.
Street dance, that was pretty much just like Jazz Fest, right?
No, I mean.
well, it's a lot
not-
smaller, it's just a live music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one night.
Last year, we pulled probably 3,500 people.
Mostly from Webster, where the Jazz Fest pulls outside of Webster, but the street dance really is like very Webster driven.
Which, in my opinion, is
Totally.
we should be taking care of the people who support our businesses the most. And if you don't want to bring in new people,
Yeah.
but.
We need a chair, we need a
Yeah,
chair.
There were people from
Yeah.
Kansas City at that event. So. Just saying.
I mean, you don't have chairs. It is
Well,
what it is, nobody. has
So the
stepped up.
trade association owns the street
Yeah.
dance, to be very clear. It's not the business district.
Yeah.
That's essentially you just providing support to the back to
I'm
the.
just being
trade
honest, we
association. Yeah.
don't have a chair, there's $3,800, that might be where we could get the money. But
What's the
nobody
reason
stepped
for
up.
increasing Jazz Fest?
Usually every year Joe comes and asks for more money for jazz.
We usually spend about 5,000
5,000
for the
And
chair.
so for us, it's money, expenses have skyrocketed. And that's,
We've added 2 stages now.
well, we've had 2 stages, but
We're trying to keep two.
Yeah.
he's trying to maintain 2 stages instead of having to cut back to 1 or something even less than that. So, but there's no grant funding. It looks like that will be available. We've had in previous years.
What's your total budget typically? 45?
Yeah.
45,000 in your total budget. You get sponsorship for everything except for the amount that we.
Pretty much so, and the grants. I mean, they pay grants up to $500.
And the food vendors.
What do you think? What do you think? Grant?
It's about 7,000 to 8,000.
And the food vendors, they just pay a tax or something?
No, they pay.
Food vendors pay a
Sponsorship.
sponsorship fee.
Sponsorship fee for the right to be the food
Right.
vendor. type thing. So it was- it's a sponsorship.
When is the street dance usually? What approximate date?
It's, the third Saturday of June.
June 17th.
Well, I'll reach out to a few people that may be interested. I don't know, but people on the board could also, for next year, it won't happen this year, but for next June.
Well, we still
Well,
don't have
we
a
need to
chair
find-
this year. If we don't find a chair, we might be.
Well,
canceling
it's
the
too
chair last
late.
minute.
Too late now. It's already, 2 months
No, we
away.
don't have the stage, but nothing's been done because there's not a chair.
Correct.
Nothing has
But
been
we
done.
we'd be looking at 2024 for that.
Well, but it can still be put together for this year. The
Yeah,
band still has a date open.
What about the stage?
Joe said he might be able to negotiate that.
We haven't, nobody's authorized me to call Brentwood.
I thought Greenwood got rid of their stage.
I don't think so.
No, I was, It was there in the parking lot,
Compton Heights.
Tuesday. Compton Heights got rid of theirs, but Bridgewood, it was on the parking lot when I drove over there and earlier this week.
What's been your budget on that event total?
38, I think.
No, I mean, the actual event budget. What do you spend?
For
on
the
that?
trade association, what do you say, President?
I would give it a Joe.
The street bands,
I'm just curious.
What did you say, Libby? What do you?
Like the event, the total event. I'm just curious, like.
The
what-
street
what
dance?
else-
That's about it.
be about,
Oh, yeah, the street dance is.
Oh, like we basically fund the whole thing.
Here's what I'm saying.
Got it.
the band wants $2,500. The stage is about 1,000. And the porta potties are 300.
What's the heavy lift on being the chair?
It's not-
And-
it's not-
Did nothing, somebody just needs to
And
do it, like coordinate everything. Okay,
Yeah.
Done.
Dave, I was waiting, I was like, there's the account.
No more discussion.
Look at the calendar. Please, yeah.
I'm gonna get murdered when I go home.
It's gonna-
Oh,
What they
June-
do, what?
June
It's
17th.
17.
yeah.
Joe will be your co-lieutenant.
I'll be out of town.
Oh,
I mean, I can organize.
Somebody's gotta be there to make sure like the
Yeah.
stuff gets
Okay.
cleaned up at
The
night.
the one thing
Yeah.
I mean, I could handle, I will volunteer to make sure cleanup happens.
Oh my gosh, this is the meeting we need to be talking
Yeah.
about.
That's what I mean, you know.
I can do everything and except be there from 6 o'clock on. My wife will kill me if I miss another anniversary.
Oh.
She said I cannot miss her wedding anniversary again,
For the street dance.
the street dance.
Oh, that's
Because
big,
it's always-
that's not an
So
anniversary.
she can't join you out on the street like in a
Oh,
locker and all that.
And they, and,
Couple glasses of wine, you got it
but
done.
she's. So, I mean,
And I would say it's pretty much about a 60% tornado.
It's-
yeah, about 40%.
Okay. Every 3 years, there's a tornado.
We get a little rain. That's good. Well, that's good to say. That-
Yes,
that's a great
thank
event.
you. Okay, that's awesome. We'll be in contact.
So then but that means for budget, then that we obviously, if there is a street dance, they're staying in, so this
Yeah.
gets back to
Yeah.
Jazz Fest, and again, I used the base, I'm putting the air quotes around base, right?
Can I clarify? I want to clarify, because, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard everything up front, cleanup. I still did not hear somebody there on the day,
I
right?
cannot. be
Is
there.
that correct? Am I right?
We haven't found that person yet.
No, Ron just said he.
I
No,
cannot be, that's a Saturday and I can be there for cleanup at night, but I gotta work my business on Saturday is.
No, I can even, yeah.
Yeah.
You said it's.
Yeah. Goes there
I just
something?
wanna make sure I got it
I-
written down.
6:30, so.
I can be
Okay,
there for cleanup.
We need to clean up.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Close it up.
And then right out, as soon as my shop closes at 5, I'll be over there at 5:30. I can be there for that, but I just can't help
So
set up. I could
we're
help.
talking about from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until,
Do we close it?
Can we do it Sunday?
3
We
o'clock?
close the streets at
Right.
30
4
minutes.
Yeah,
It's like
2 o'clock,
either
the streets are closed. and
Like,
the
but you
stage-
can't fight over it or,
somebody's gotta be there to work with the stage
I think Joe's gonna be there.
and decorate the stage.
I'm your chairperson if you want to.
So what coverage are we talking? I just wanna make sure it's, that we're doing, if we're doing it now, let's make sure it's clear.
Well, let's
We'll get it.
Okay.
do it.
I'm gonna go with that.
we'll do
I
the
love
7th.
this.
The assistant city manager will pull a Jazz Fest the whole time, again, so
I believe that.
make sure the trash cans get back in the spots they go.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And we don't do chairs, right?
No.
Where everybody brings their own chair.
Right. it's-
Yeah,
it's-
Well,
it's-
the total budget comes around, it's gonna be about 4,000, maybe 4,100, because we still need to do and add in the time. That's the only promotion that gets done.
And I think in the past, I don't want,
We don't charge vendors or anything. They show up.
You can,
They're
you
invited.
can if you want, as the chair. Okay.
But who's available?
Chase it down.
You can get a vendor, yeah.
We know, actually, what we've had is just a couple of food trucks. They
Post
don't
Rock has
pay
done
any-
it as well.
They have basically said they're not doing that type of event.
Yeah, it's usually like.
They're not doing jazz festival?
Okay, the last year, we really scrambled for a food truck, but, Mugs will usually put a booth out selling alcohol.
But you can't count on that because they have new ownership.
Mugs?
Yep,
Oh, yeah, Mugs is.
Yep. transfer of ownership is taking place.
Like,
2 months ago.
Sam will be there for a couple of months for the transition.
And the name changes in 6 months, right? Isn't that
I
right?
don't know if the name is changing.
Can you tell me what the vendors pay at Jazz Festival?
1,500.
Seems reasonable to charge us something.
Well, I would think 500. I mean, I hate to say, those guys. The amount of alcohol they sell, if I could go sell alcohol, I could get
Make some big changes.
Yeah, make some money and. Be able to
But
tighten
the
up this budget.
overall budget will come in at about 4,000, 41, 42.
Before any.
But you're forgetting a couple of things. I would go with 5,000 or at least 4,500.
Why is that?
Well, we also played police
Okay.
and you paid me last year too.
Fran's like, don't forget about me.
So again, you know,
Well,
so
you
there's-
have the budget.
this is the interesting, like Dave, as you're thinking about this, right? It's a trade association event, right? So the budget for the event is theirs, right? Tim and you guys all get together, work it out. And then it's really the question of how much the district picks up of that
Right.
cost, right? You know, we 3,800. Fran's cost, that's part of that special event, you know, piece that we added.
How much did you spend? How much did you charge last year, Fran?
About 400.
$400.
And then, you know, advertising, you've got some in this budget, some extra holdover and such, you know, that you could use, but it's really that conversation between once trade association has their budget, what do you pick up?
And
Yeah.
what the trade association
No,
has
they
actually paid for in the past totally has been for the police.
Right,
They paid 100% for the police.
and that was like 250
Roughly 253.
in the past.
Well, that is. Much better
It
today,
is.
better meeting today than
Than
yesterday. Yep.
Okay, so. So
Yeah,
street dance could
everyone's
possibly
still here.
happen.
We're all there.
Okay, right. And Dan and Joe, can you check on the stage
We'll get a hold of the government stage.
just to make sure to see if that's gonna happen? That's we don't have a stage, we can't.
And our band's lined up.
The band is
The
lined
band
up
is
already.
They've already put it on their social
Yes, they
media.
have.
Okay.
I think it might be a bad-
The band lined up and said, we're gonna be in a place that isn't even promoting.
It's true.
Well, I wanted to be very clear, I wasn't gonna beat around the bush yesterday's meeting, we didn't get an answer, but today we did, yay, that's very exciting. We don't need to write a big cancel and notify everybody.
Okay, all right, so now we're gonna go back to what Joe started. So you want from 3,500 to what? Okay,
So what we had last year. So in other words, using last year as a starting point.
And last year we did 7,500,
Oh, okay,
but that was because it had not been done for 2 years.
right.
And also going back to. And what this 5,000 represents basically is the cost of the stage and the sound system. For one stage. That's basically what. This group will be underwriting. Is that.
is there any chance you could still get a grant or no?
Yeah, Missouri Arts Council is still possible.
Okay,
But it'd be minimal,
okay,
more like 1,800 or something, instead of 7,000 or 8,000.
okay.
Right, we lost the regional arts commission.
I got you. So basically, your budget next year is gonna be smaller, is what you're kind of saying?
Well, no, it's hard to make it smaller. What we've got to do is raise more sponsors.
I got you, okay, all right.
It's.
If you wanna get smaller, you gotta pull stage off and then
Yeah,
change the nature and the tenor of the event.
Which adding that stage really grew it, so like.
I mean, I think that end of Lockwood certainly enjoyed having people
Uh-huh.
like that.
Oh, it's a ton of people.
Robust and others were quite happy.
Yeah.
So what if we pull $1,500 out of the building lighting?
Yes,
Take it from wherever you can.
yes, for sure.
You can cut building lighting out, as I said, and we can go
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, I think we could, and like what Bill said,
Well, let's cut that building line, let's knock that down to 8,000.
or 5,000. We only spent 1,700.
When will
Well,
we,
no, we spent, he said 4,000. Because he added in 4,000.
when will we find out the price of each pot and all of that?
That's built, so the pots you already own, that's built into the business.
I know, but
district
how much
transfer.
it is to,
That number's in there. That's the
Yeah.
24,000, I think it was.
I know that's the overall, but do we have a breakdown of,
Depends on which districts are in. So, those pots, so just to be very clear, Crossroads already has 5 pots. So I mean, that cost of $24,000 is maybe goes down a couple $100 because it's you and Old Orchard that have the flowers. So. in terms of-
I just would be curious because on the side of the framing building, there is an overuse of pots.
The concrete park,
Macona Brady.
There is a lot, and I feel like they just get
Concrete.
dropped there. And if we could eliminate 5 of those, how much would we save? Is my question, or 10?
we're back to that conversation. The Parks Department wants to eliminate all the pots, so
It's a lot of.
it is,
pots
it has
over there.
been the conversation
It's on the
about.
side.
They're a little dumped. It looks like, oh, we don't know where to put these pots, let's just dump them. So if that's like $500 right there to remove them,
I think it looks pretty nice in the summertime.
it does not, it looks dumb.
Alright.
Maybe 3, but 10 is excessive. Does anybody else agree with that? It's a lot of pots.
More than
It's
we
not
need.
normally 10 all season.
There was a lot last, or
No,
the year
it's
that we
not.
did Oktoberfest, there was so many pots. John Sutter and I were literally making fun of how many pots. Like, it was a lot.
I do think it looks really nice in the main part of the summer, but there is a lot there too.
And so it's like, if some of those are just a few $100s to. Maybe just 3 pots or 2 pots, 1, 2, 3.
Make a motion.
I make a motion to understand how much each pot costs.
Okay.
I don't think we have to.
You don't have to make a motion on that.
I don't know if I can get you, I don't know if I can get you that number.
Okay.
Right, I mean, we don't think in terms of how much a pot costs at the city.
Yeah.
Okay, we're buying, we know we need to fill up this many square feet, whether pots, plastics, whatever. We need this many types of plants, that much kind of soil, fertilizer, things like that. That's what's in that commodity line. So I don't know if I can give you a sense of it's this much, maybe they will be able to do it. I don't know, so.
This is a little micromanaging of me. I know what I'm about to ask, but can I please meet with somebody and see how many pots are and where
Well,
they're at?
So
in the
let's
district?
stop that for a second. I
Yeah.
think the real conversation here, because we did this a year ago,
Okay,
is what do you want in terms of flowers in the district, right? So is it? We did this a year ago
Yeah.
because the Parks Department wanted to stop pots. And
Yeah.
The district this advisory commission was very clear that you wanted to keep pots.
yes.
So we kept pots. So it's really a conversation about what types of flowers, right? And so you don't have any baskets that'll hang between Elm to essentially Parkmore, right? In that area. So if you're gonna have flowers, it's going to be pots on the ground.
Right.
And then do you want us to cut back on that in some way? And, just in what sense of numbers do you want us to cut
Well,
back?
I guess that's what I'm asking. If we cut back,
It's
can we
not
have a
gonna-
meeting with somebody?
It's not gonna have a material.
It's not gonna make a significant cost.
Okay,
If it makes a difference of $500 on $43,000, it's not going to mean anything.
well. Okay,
What we should be doing is asking to have somebody from the Parks Department to meet with us. And then we're really trying to micromanage this, but tell them what our vision is. And then they work with it, and then you'll see what they do during the summer, and we either like it or we don't. Then the next summer, we can make an adjustment. We gotta let them know what our thoughts are. So is there somebody that can come to our next meeting?
We did this last year.
they came?
They did come.
We did come,
Oh,
Yvonne did come to one meeting.
But it's a good thing probably to do year to year
Um,
because
Well, how about this? Eric, can you relay to Yvonne that this group thinks that the concrete park, I believe is what they call
Sure,
it.
yeah. We can move the pots, so.
is a little overdone. Let's just, how about that?
Well, yeah, I was trying to figure out with budget, like, that's still not answering the overall question, but. I mean, if nobody feels like we need to meet with them. I personally feel like we need to, I agree with Bill, I think we should be meeting with them. Once a year to get an idea of what we're spending and why.
If not even a meeting, just a small memo from them, a little direction on what
Right.
they're planning on doing each year, so that we
But
kind of have an
This
idea.
is actually, the budget that we're looking for is actually not this coming summer.
This coming
It's
summer
gonna
is
be
in the current. budget.
Yeah,
next-
that's fine. I'm just saying that we need to have more, meet with them at least once a year, or at least get a memo of this is what we're planning on doing. This is the vision. You know, this is what we, if you need a contact phone number, here it is, that kind of thing.
And monitor this summer. I don't even know
Yeah.
what concrete park is, so like.
So little-
Perfect.
Garage.
The
Okay.
entrance. to the
Yeah,
parking
the
lot.
top
over
deck.
here. So pay more attention, be more aware so that we can evaluate, reduce next year, but.
I think the
Yeah.
most, I think the most important thing for our district is make sure it's clean. And I do think we need a budget for more trash cans, even if they're not being picked up. Thing you see on Webster Connect all the time is pictures, or just recently down in other districts, of trash cans that are overflowing. I know that we have an issue with them being picked up, but we do not have enough trash cans throughout the district. I do think in the budget, we need at least 5 or 6 more trash cans.
And trash cans cost what, like $2,000?
Oh, it's, yeah, they're,
But
I think it's-
again, it could take easily up to 8 months for them to be delivered. And we're having a lot of problems with delivery issues. So I do think we have money in the budget because we have $13,000 over budgeted. So I do think we should add at least 3 or 4 to 2024's budget, 23-24's budget.
Okay, so we did just 5,000 to Jack's house, right? We agree on that.
Moving out of building, building time.
Right, yes.
And then when you're talking to Yvonne though, is that, hey, if you're taking away flowers, that's fine. Or whatever, but we really want you to focus on blowing the sidewalk, cleaning up trash, always making sure trash is not on the sidewalk.
we certainly can.
I mean, I think flowers to me are great, but I'd rather make sure that once a week, twice a week, they're blowing the sidewalk. They're picking up papers that are on the sidewalk. They are finding beer cans on the sidewalk or in the out, along the wherever. We should be doing that as owners as well, but.
Right. I pick up stuff all the time, all
Yes,
the
I do.
time.
I do too. I'm out there all the time, but
Well, I don't see a ton of trash all the way. I'm not trying to say I never see it. But in the mornings, when I push my bike out, I look at the street and papers or an old Webster Kirkwood Times in the gutter, I pick it up and throw it away.
yes, that's great, but that's not happening throughout the
No.
district. That's why we have maintenance.
It's not down there.
So- That is really, I think that's really our major focus is that. So you tell them, look, that's really what we want. If you're not wanting to do the flowers as much, sounds like they don't want to. So move it more into actual.
I want to be clear, they do want to do flowers. They just,
Don't want to do the
the
pots.
better and more sustainable way in the eyes of the city staff and Parks Department is not to do pots, it's to do the hanging baskets. That is the goal that the department wants to move to. This advisory commission said, we like the pots. And so we did sort of a hybrid with
Right.
some baskets. So it's much more what Parks Department would like to do is like Old Orchard has, which is, the baskets down the poles, so. But they very much want to do flowers. Trust me, they are very big on doing the flowers, so.
But
Yeah.
our take was last year, and it could be changed this year, was that we have very wide sidewalks and that it just doesn't, I just think it looks better with time myself. That's what our whole
Oh, absolutely.
organization voted on last year. People feel different this year than we need to vote that way. But. So.
Well, I know I'm requesting the pots not to be in front of back of me, because I'm gonna do my own thing. So those are gone. Or maybe move down in front of you.
Yeah,
But that's
they're right in
very
between our
large.
building, you know,
I'm
they're
gonna
right.
request, cause I will make it look nice. promise.
Mhm.
That you do,
Mhm.
need to relate to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know, send me
We've
an
talked
email.
about
So-
it. I'm ready, I will.
Yeah, and well, sooner the better, because they'll start, they'll go out of it.
So if you do have, things like that, we'll certainly, I hear about concrete bark, we can shift the numbers, that's fine, right? They're old, north of the tracks is always asking for more,
I mean,
right?
we're getting
So
ready
the
to-
reality is we've concentrated Lockwood and we certainly can move things around to create a better gateway effect and such, so. So on the budget, you asked about benches, I think not benches, excuse me, trash cans, I believe they were 1,700. Looking at the last invoice. Now I will, that was pre-inflation cost, so I need to go back and quote if you want me to, but again, we can pull that up. For trash cans, we did, I believe it was, this district got 6 the last time. So we got Lockwood and the part of Gore all in the new trash cans. But there are still the old ones, we call them the concrete ones with the pebbles looking sides. Down in the parking ramps, and then some onto the north side of Old Webster, the north of the track. So we can get a number, and then we just move cans out to, continually exchange them around.
And that is gonna go under what line?
That would go on top of page 2, 730, operational equipment. So if you're looking for, if you want me to get a quote and put a number in there, I can certainly do that.
I move that we look at adding another 6 trash cans. Again, the reasons, many of them are getting old and some of them do get damaged throughout the year. The time on delivery could be up to 8 months, could be longer. And then we could keep some of them in reserve if needed.
And that's coming out of operational equipment, and that's not.
There's no budget
Not
there.
coming out of them, it's gonna be added on. We already are down 20 grand on our fund balance if we don't change anything. Now, we did get rid of a little bit of lighting, which we just moved over to Jazz Festival. We have a little bit more to play with there, but nothing for 6 trash cans. So our operational budget we're already negative 17,000 on our fund balance. We will, I think that's right. I'm not
So-
mistaken.
So in this budget, yeah, so you take
Would
it
be down basically to be about at least another 10,000, so it's gonna be about $28,000 to $30,000.
What did you cut facade lighting to?
Hmm?
What did you cut facade lighting to? I didn't. hear
So
the-
yeah, so let me just go through it real quick. So everything, the facade lighting, I think we were gonna try to back that down to about 5 grand. Okay. We're gonna up Jazz Festival budget. And I hope that you could maybe just do this and then the next meeting we'll vote on it.
Sure, yeah,
We'll
absolutely,
then
absolutely.
see
Yeah,
how much
we'll
money
know the
we're-
transfers and all that. kind of
Bleeding
stuff.
$30,000. Budget is 40, so Jazz Festival budget has gone up to $5,000.
Yep.
The street dance budget is gonna have to
Make
be
it 4,100.
4,100.
I think we
because of
can
trade
do
offs.
Oktoberfest. Can we
Are they?
see what the
Yeah.
actual
Okay.
number was for Oktoberfest of last year that you turned in? Is there a way to see that?
With all due respect, can you ask your treasurer to get that
Yeah.
number?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys send us the invoice. I have to go
Yeah.
find a
Yeah,
paper
yeah,
from the trade association, so.
Yeah, I don't believe it was $5,000, so it's spent on that event.
I have.
It seems like a lot to me.
Yeah,
probably-
well, we did it when we couldn't do other events, so we upped it, so we had breathing room, but I'm pretty sure that. I don't want to speak with that budget.
We have to do banner.
You,
this year?
yeah, you bought
to
2
do
new
new
banners,
banners
Right.
and they were just,
Yeah.
you need new
Yeah.
banners this year because
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
Not done to spec
So
and they.
that may
they're all torn up.
But we had also talked about charging people this year, which is something I was planning on doing.
To be involved in it?
Mhm.
Okay. Are we
So that
paying, then are we reimbursing them for musicians that go in front of their building too?
Yeah, it's $100 and 5 people turned it in last year.
Okay, all right.
I don't even think 5 people turned it in. I don't know. I don't have the budget.
No, I think Lisa said only 1 or 2.
2 people turned it in.
Stacy,
just
Stacy
offered-
didn't.
I did not, but I paid. I paid.
So-
Actually, I did. I texted her. I did not want to get
Oh,
into
really?
discussion in front of the entire.
Oh,
Yeah.
So street dance, you ended where, sorry?
Street dance.
4100?
4100.
Okay. And then October, are we leaving or are we changing for this period? Where we?
We're gonna have to investigate,
That's nice.
leave it at 5, and we're gonna investigate what we spent last year, although we are gonna need new banners for this year if we want to continue to put those up.
I think I can get some good sponsorship and do it for a lot less than that. I honestly think I could put the whole event on for 2,500, but then the banners. That,
And I think that would,
Okay, historically, this group, when we've had to pay for banners, has not been, has kind of been out of the fund balance or something. It's not been a budgeted expense.
but it should be a budgeted expense if we darn well know that we have to do it.
yeah.
I mean, the reason it comes out of a fund balance is because we pull them out and there's raffles and it was something
Yeah.
weird, not, that would be an emergency is when that's when we go into our fund balance and amend our budget. If we darn well know that we need banners, then we need to at least plan for it.
Yeah, the biggest expense was the printing.
Printing for flyers.
Oktoberfest, it has that map on it with the list of what everybody's doing.
Some of that, if it's planned a little further in advance, can be straight,
Okay,
not anything huge, but there's where everything is done the same size. It's planned in advance and not multiple people doing different parts of it. That makes
I'll have that funder request ready to go by the next meeting.
Okay,
So you saved 8,200 off of right now without any other changes, just those that we just talked about. You're 8,200 off the deficit, so you're down to about $9,000 in deficit spending. If you don't spend,
if we don't buy the trash.
if you don't buy the trash cans, if you
Right.
move that 8,200 up to the trash cans, you're about 17,000. You took 10,000 off.
Took
the
10 off
deficit,
that and we
then you added
added
back in 1,800.
1,800 and then Jazz Festival.
That's Jazz Fest
Yeah,
and-
that's Jazz in that. Okay,
yeah.
got it. Yeah.
I have a budget savings suggestion that is probably a third rail here. But I don't feel that it's the commission's position to pay for employee parking.
For who?
Employee parking lots. Which,
Eric's like, man, I'm out.
No. So I want to be very clear. So you certainly can. I mean, you can, if you want to move, try to move that to the city, that's the city, obviously, not for with the city. Or is it charged? I mean, that's how you look at permit parking. So employees that park in the ramp or in other places have to get a permit,
there has to be parking someplace.
I think he's saying the city should pay for it, not the business.
either the city or the businesses, not the business district.
And that's fine, that's a good thing to discuss, but the parking. When there was no. If parking is starting to be charged to the individual businesses and such. What you are going to find is the streets are gonna be filled with employee cars. Even if they get a $10 ticket every day. They're gonna try and do that and move their cars every 2 hours and. We've been through this in the past.
I think parking is gold, and I think helping provide it for the business district. Helps me lease spaces, helps the businesses get employees. It keeps people out of the parking that the customers use. I think it's an inexpensive asset that we help provide.
and we also, retail tax pay more than other places, so in which funds. This as well, so we are already kind of paying into that for the parking.
I think my my issue or concern, I mean, they're all good points. But right now, we've got 2 lots that are, like, benefit a handful of businesses, it's not a centralized lot. They're not out there, and I don't disagree, parking is a good thing. I'll say on my end, my landlord owns a lot that we utilize, okay? I mean, I could ask him to rent it to this business district and cut my rent. So it's a cost we're incurring.
They won't ever do that. There was negotiations with them.
But my
Oh, yeah.
point is, that's the
Yeah.
concept.
Oh,
the-
yeah,
the
yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, I as a property owner, I'm paying for. This.
I guess one of the issues is the centralization aspect, which I don't disagree.
And I don't think it's a possibility.
Right, exactly. That's where, I mean, it's just wherever we can find, a place to lease. And that's kind of what it's had to been, so. But you could look at making everything permit, but as far as what really pays for the whole business district is retail and restaurants. And if customers come, they're not able to park. And it could be bike shop customers don't mind walking a little bit.
Well, our customers that regularly come up and complain, there's no parking.
No,
We
right,
have a lot.
right, exactly. No, I agree. Your lot seems always full of me. I'm going to want taxes or something, so.
And
We're not supposed to park there to go to Park Mall?
buying permits is a challenge too, like we
You gotta
did
fight
this
all
year
the-
get
all the
3
employees.
permits. But, so we're paying $1,200 for 3, but we still have, we don't want our employees parking in the lot. And sometimes they will in a snowy rainy day, and they will move their car.
Yes.
3 times a day, or pay the $10 ticket, but
Well, we
those
do-
lots for the people who have a large number of employees that are turning over during the day, TJ Mugs.
In some instances, it's how you have to message to your employees. Yeah, our thing, I have all my employees parked blocked down the street, so we keep the street open, keep our lot open. It's,
We've done that in the past, and the residential people on Gore and Gray and Cedar have raised holy hell because people are parking in front of their homes all day long. At one time, the employee lot behind Brown or.
You can say Acme
The Acme,
still, that's
whatever.
okay. The sign still
Was
is.
all permit parking. And it did not raise. Well, at that time, it was $50 a spot or $75. And it did not really raise as much as what the lot was costing. And we paid.
How much are the permits?
I believe they were 400 a piece,
Yeah,
300 or
those are the-
400 a piece.
Those are
We
the
bought
garage
3.
permits. That
But
cover
they're, that's, we
The lower
would buy
level.
more if we could, we can't, like, we
the,
ended up taking someone else's spot
the-
that didn't renew on time.
the-
Difficult to get.
the surface spots, I believe, are 200. And there's not that many surface spots. Really.
Well, that's why I had suggested a few months back that when you go to renew your business license in Webster, we could have a thing where you ask how many employees and we pay per employee.
It would be very difficult,
Yeah.
because I would argue that point that we'll typically have 3 or 4 employees at a time. We do already have 3
Yeah.
permits, but ours are changing throughout the day, so it's,
Well, and it's an overall, like if
So
you have
by-
15 employees.
but we don't have 15 employees
Yeah.
parking at the same time. It would be a difficult formula.
Yeah, what you're saying is if I have 8 employees,
Yeah.
I only have 3 or 4 in my store at a time. They're always switching back and forth.
but there's still a challenge of that goal of charging my employees to provide parking. There's still only a handful of parking lots that I feel. Located next to a couple of businesses. And so there's a tilted benefit, if you will, tilted reason.
I don't know if that's
There-
something we can ever help.
In the lot behind Acme, your house, there are employees that are parking there, they're going down to the notice building. I doubt that he go down all the way to you. But I know that they, well, because you've got one there too, but many of the, a number of the Farnsworth employees parking there. And I'm assuming that the restaurant employees are parking.
No, they're parking in my lot. The main lot.
Well, no, that's the Olive and Oak one, right? They pay for that.
No, I'm
They
talking
rent that
about,
lot. They do, I'm telling you, they do rent that lot.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
DD.
The one next to your building?
The one across from Paisley, that parking lot.
That's the
Yeah.
Camerson building,
No,
not
I'm-
the- he's talking the Jets parking
Literally
lot.
between
He-
jets.
Yeah, but it's the same owner, so he had, it's the same owner that owns that his building, me and the old Reliable Life building, and then those 3 parking lots. So they pay, they pay for that because the city of Webster would not allow them to open without finding more parking, which was a conversation that we all had 8 years ago.
Parking meters.
So they pay, I mean, they're
The other guy
paying
needs
our
to be talking
landlord for that. To use that, so it's,
So they're paying.
yeah,
It's kind of my point. There's certain businesses that are paying for parking, so does that mean that the commission should be supporting them? Funding, covering part of that, and that's kind of the road we're going.
Except this is open to anybody to use,
Yeah.
and that business is paying for their employees.
yeah.
And that's a need they see, so we're paying for.
And they could park up at the church lot, if they wanted to, but they don't want to walk there.
That's a long, that's what Dave's saying. He's like, it greatly is an advantage to my business, but it doesn't help his business or his employees who have to pay for parking for your business.
But I mean, that also
You know,
never
if
enough.
you want to park close, you don't have it. So,
You know?
yeah.
Never enough doesn't even get plowed in front of their sidewalks, that we just found out.
They're
So,
on the other side of the track.
I mean, there's gonna be things that are fair to some businesses and not fair to others, vice versa.
But
That's
we
just
are
part of the game.
essentially paying for it in our license. Like, I feel like that's how we are paying for our parking.
Through the license.
But so is Olive and Oak.
Well,
To be
but my
clear,
opinion, the city said they had to come up with more. parking. Is that
Right.
my
Oh, that was-
opinion?
That's part of the.
Yeah.
It's part of their
The city
program
said,
requirement.
yeah.
So that's the parking minimum conversation. So Olive and Oak, because they were such a different nature than what was the building before, whatever they were before.
Auto beauty.
Auto beauty. So the fact you're gonna bring that many people, the code said you have to have this many parking spots. You can accomplish that without owning them by leasing and having evidence of the lease. So that's how they met the parking. Not disputing them, just giving you the backup of. you know,
But I mean,
where that-
in all fairness too, because they do bring so many people, we have all been benefited from Olive and Oak. There is no doubt about that.
I think there
So-
would need to be a subcommittee, a group that would get together and kind of brainstorm. This would take hours of.
Yeah, we're not gonna
Of
stop. it.
debate.
It's a parking strategy planning meeting, and I wanted to bring it up as a concern. I don't think I'm gonna change the jury here.
And there's big
No,
part of
no.
study, and I believe,
But it's a valid point and we should think about it.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah,
and we could continue to look at
It's a,
if
it
it's,
is a large
if it's
portion of our
permit
budget.
parking that we're already paying rent for at that particular point, we could turn the employee lot behind there into permit parking.
yes.
And then that would be, I mean, you know, I'm not trying to, one way or the other, but that would be, then everybody would be paying.
there was a,
There was a parking study done.
yeah,
Now it's probably 10 years ago. I believe it's still on the website.
So, oh, we can find it and get it out to everyone. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
We can.
And
Okay.
at that, I gave a lot of that good information. When they put it out, I did not agree with their findings and still don't, but they did a lot of legwork and said that we have plenty of parking. That there's always 25% of the parking spots available at any time.
Just not the right spot.
Yeah, and like what they did include was both public and private spots.
Keep in
So,
mind too, when Mayor Welsh used to come and attend these meetings. She was trying to get us at that point to redo. How parking was. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Where she was talking about moving the parking spots to be able to make. More parking spots?
yes.
So this has
and
been-
on the parking, I don't think I've ever been at a meeting that there was not 5 minutes of parking discussion,
Yeah.
and many meetings.
I agree.
Yeah.
Bill went to get coffee.
Let's go ahead and vote down the benches real quick.
I always go ahead and
Second.
second his motion to pay.
Well, all we're doing is getting
Yes, you're just telling me what to add into the.
and you don't need a
The
vote,
budget voting.
right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So
All right.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think it needs to be in there. I do believe that you never have enough trash. We fought that battle again for the last 50 years.
Okay, we gotta move on, because I have to work.
Yeah.
Street dance, Dave Smith's taking over all of that, and we'll do everything. We'll do everything.
You'll have a committee to go.
I don't know what 314 STL made.
That, so that, this is conversation that we're bringing up just real quick.
Good.
Fran will launch into it, 314.
314 day is March 14th. 314, because we're in the 314 area code, they're using that as a way to promote St. Louis made businesses. There's a group that's already put together logos, templates for announcing it, promoting it. They have a much more organized where they've got some neighborhood crossing, that sort of thing. But this is just an awareness to let you know about it. If you wanted to just promote your business for whatever on that day, just something individual, they've already got the legwork done. I can use the common logos and things like that.
You can also book a vendor through them for free, or $25.
A pop-up vendor is what you're talking about?
Yeah. If you want the link, I posted it on the business owner's Facebook.
So like a pop-up vendor would pop up in front of my shop.
Yeah, they coordinate somebody and then they put you on the map.
Okay,
Through, like on their whole,
The whole St. Louis region.
okay.
Yeah.
and obviously we want as many of those. On. From Webster, so then more people come that day.
I would assume the 14th is a Saturday.
Actually, it's a Tuesday, so they are actually, lots of the activities, the coordinated activities are starting the weekend before.
Sunday.
So like the neighborhood crawl, for example, is over the weekend.
Okay, got it.
It's also Pioneer.
But the pop-up vendor would pop in on a Tuesday.
Sunday, right? I
Sunday.
thought the pop-up vendor was there.
It really, it's different
Oh,
depending upon what
I
you're
see
doing,
Sunday, that's
what you
right.
wanna take
Yeah.
advantage of.
Okay.
And, but if you don't wanna do any of that, and you're just gonna promote your own business yourself, then focus on
Okay.
what works for you.
I'll text you the link, Ryan.
Quick BDC. anything?
BDC update. Didn't you want to say anything?
No, we meet tomorrow.
Great, perfect. City update.
Sergeant Flannery, anything from your world? All right, just quickly, strategic planning on the city side is underway, so the city has adopted, I'll send this out, a draft. Strategic goals as well as strategic plan and such. There's a piece of that that's about economic development. So not for this month, but as we go forward, we'll end up talking about what are some things, because they're asking staff now on tactical goals. Things we want to accomplish over the next 3 years that relate to that strategic vision. So be bringing that to the business districts for some input along the way. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
No new businesses popping in or anything.
Nothing.
The Eleanor, the kid store is new. They're opening next weekend. It's a kid store opening next to Leopard Boutique in
Okay.
between Leopard.
So it's gonna be where
Okay,
Science
so
Scope is.
What was the name you said?
The Eleanor,
The Eleanor is the name, right?
I do know Eleanor. She's so sweet.
You do know her good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And it's a
She's
baby boutique,
22.
correct?
Lots of energy. Yeah.
good.
She
She did
and
the
the
summer-
Pitbull.
Summer night dance.
So in other words, you want to root her right away. huh?
Yeah.
Couple months now.
Okay, anything else on city? Okay, next meeting is the 28th. We need to vote. Let's try to keep all the extra, we don't need to talk about rooftop lighting anymore, or we're gonna try to get
Yes.
through our budget. 'Cause
No parking next month?
No parking. next month. We'll try to keep it to a minimum and just talk about budget and see where we are.
And we should have all the document and back from Parks, so we'll be able to send it out to you so you have it and look at it ahead of time.
And you could you also, tell us where we are, like up to date on our last year's budget too?
So that's always in the year to date.
Yeah, so it's 2021 amount, I guess, is 2022 amount,
2023,
2023 amount.
the current budget you're talking.
I got you, you already have it.
Yeah, well, that's the estimated, what we estimate for the whole year, so. if
Right,
you
you're
want a
just
year
kind
to
of, you're
date,
kind of,
yes.
looking ahead.
We have to
3 or 4
put an
months.
estimate in the budget document, so. yeah, we'll get you that.
All right. Great. Good.
Thank you.